In today's session, we are going to understand what is staff training and development. It is part of the HR. What is HR? Human resource development. So when we talk about human resource, what is the basic and the most important part? Human and resource. So why we are talking about resources? Because we understand what is water, our resources are water, oil, air, right? These are all resources we have understood. Why we are talking about human as a part of resource? Because human are the most important part of an organization, who are running the organization, who are working for that particular organizations. And it is understood that if you are making that your staff happy, then your customer will always be happy. So more and more people, more and more organizations are giving importance to training. More and more companies are giving a work-life balance, So what is this? Because they are taking care of the human part of it. So staff training and development, that is one of the most important part of taking care of your staff. Why we are talking about the staff? Because training is simple, right? You have already gone through an educational qualification. You have gone through so many internships. Why do you require a training? Why? And what is development? How training and development are both the same things, because we are talking about road development, infrastructure development. How come training is a part, and also a training and development are part of staff or the human resource for that matter? Yes, it is very, very important. Why? Because training is a short-term process utilizing a systematic and organized procedure to impart skills for a definite purpose. What is the definite purpose? It refers to instructions in technical, mechanical, or service operations. What is technical? What is mechanical? And what is service? We understand it because when we are taking care of a laptop, we are taking care of a system. That is technical, right? There is a Word document. There is a Windows software. What is the MS Word or MS is for that matter? That is what? That is technical. What is mechanical? How you plug it on. Where is the power switch? If something is happening on your screen, how do you take care of it? What is the service operations? How you are able to use that particular thing. Whether you are able to use or make a PowerPoint presentation, whether you are able to read the Word documents, whether you are able to send an email through the Gmail or through Yahoo, whatever may be your mail option. But those are service operations. Third is employees and the managers also require training in certain areas. Yes, it always happens, Everybody is not perfect. Yes, they learn, they unlearn, they learn, they unlearn. What is there to learn and what is there to unlearn? See, they are learning the new things which are coming in. So that they have to go through training. They will understand it through training. Yes. Why? Because every day there is new changes happening, right? Every day. Because what happens was before 2015 or 16, there was no GST as such added in your bills and all. Then suddenly all accounting things shifted with GST add-ons. So when an organization is adding GST, how much of CST, how much of GST, that has to be understood. Why that percentage and what is the percentage of profit that is being changed after that. So these are some things which the employees have to learn. Same ways it is used for a short duration and it is for a specific job related, like I mentioned. Maybe a new software has come in your office and you have to understand how it works. Like Google has a add-on like workspaces, and also they have a worksheet, spreadsheet in the Google thing. So you may be aware of Gmail, you may be aware of how to send a mail, you may be aware of other parts of the Gmail, but you may not be so comfortable with the worksheets. So this Google worksheet or the spreadsheet which is there online, it's a beautiful thing. It's something which you have to learn. Why? Because it's something similar to your Excel sheet, but it is in Google. So it's a real time thing. Whatever changes you are able to do, if you make the other person a part of it through your mail, that person is able to see the changes. So that is yes, but it requires internet, you will be saying that. But yes, internet is understood now that it is available. So that is training, right? So that is what is, maybe you require a 1 day or a 2 day training for it. How to do it, what are the soft easy points, where you can easily go in and go out, how you can make it more effective, efficient for you to work. Then how it is different from development. Once I have understood the basic skills, like the basic techniques, suppose I am talking about a PowerPoint presentation for you to understand. We all have made a PowerPoint presentation for our presentations, for our projects, for our assignments, whatever. But there are so many new options which have come in with the PowerPoint. You have a designing option. You don't have to worry. You just put in your data, just go to the Google option, designing, select designing, and then it automatically gives you that. But you have to learn that. That is development, right? So you've already understood what is PowerPoint. That was part of your training. How you develop it into a better thing. So development is a long-term educational process utilizing a systematic and organized procedure by which managerial personnel frequently receive assistance in developing the skills, particularly conceptual and human relation skills. So how you take care of your staff, that is also part of your development. What is basically human relation skills? Let us understand that. What is human relation skills? So as a manager, you are aware that you cannot finish that particular task yourself. So you have to give that task to your subordinates. And if you understand that one subordinate cannot do it, then you have to always divide it into 2 or 3 person so that the work gets finished in particular time. That is human relations. If you're not putting pressure on a particular single person, then that is helping that particular person also. So that is how you develop a particular organization. So if the manager is very right, if the manager is good, if the manager is taking care of the personals, if the manager is helping the assistants working under him, but then that organization can always flourish. Then always that organization will be better. So it refers to not to the technical knowledge or the skills in operations, but to philosophical and the theoretical educational concept. So when we are talking about development, we are taking care of the whole system in such. What is the whole system? The whole person in place, right? So that person, the way he talks, the way he walks, the way he understands, the way he thinks, the way he dispatches his messages, the way he writes the mail. Like he's very good when you're talking to him or talking to her, but then through the mail, he or she is giving you a very hard time, like very tough statements. You have to finish the work by the end of the day. Like EOD, that's what is being said. So what is end of the day? Like you have told me at 4:30 and the end of day is at 5. So you're giving me half an hour to finish that work. That is what is required, that you have to understand as a manager philosophically and theoretically that something which is not possible, how can you possibly give it to somebody? So that is development. See, when you are understanding what is the training part, like whether you have that skills, then you can become a good manager. That is no doubt about it. But then how you have to execute it, that is also we have to learn. So a person can be good with the skills, like a mechanic who's working on a scooter or a car, he's very good with the skills. But he cannot delegate his work. So he is not a good manager unless he delegates his work. Unless he understands, yes, this oil is missing, this something is missing, this screw is missing, do it like this. Like if you're able to make it understand to your junior, to your subordinate, that this is the point where you have to take care, then that means that person has understood the details, technical details clearly. And that person already also has a skill. So a person becomes complete when the skill part, that is the training part, and the personal or the philosophical training part is, development part is complete. So it involves a broader education and its purpose is a long-term in development. What is long-term development? Like I mentioned, in overall development. So when you are changing, your area around you changes, your people around you changes, your organization changes, so then you become people-centric company. People are interested. Why people are interested in working in Google? Why people are interested in going to Norway? Why people are interested in working in Switzerland? Because they have a good work culture. They are keeping their staff only for 4 days. I think in one of the Norway countries, they are saying Japan is trying again. I think 5 days working day, something like that. Because Japan's working culture is something like that. The people get tired, but they don't take a rest because they are so particular about their work. So what is required is, yes, training is important. Development is also important. So both the things go hand in hand. So now this is a different slide where you understand how and what are different in training and development. So training is mostly short term with a concrete goal. And development is a long term activity with goals that are open ended and ongoing. So training focuses on the role, development focuses on the person. Training aims at a specific job or a role requirement. Development is more conceptual and focuses on overall progression of the individual. Training revolves around immediate or the present need, and development activities are futuristic. What will happen in the future? So you develop it today, like we say, foresight. What will happen in 5 years down the line, how developed you will be, your organization will be. Like when the computer was coming in, I think in the 80s and the beginning of 90s, the organizations were having that kind of a thought process. If once the computer comes in, the people will be all asked to leave. But that didn't happen because the computers can only work with people. So that kind of a futuristic development activities should be understood, right? Yes, the company has to increase the output, so computers are making it happen. So that is development. And training make that particular staff, the 5 people or the 6 people who are working there with the paper and pen option, to understand what is computers. That is training, right? So training enhances the knowledge or the skill for a particular job or a role, and development focuses on a career building and progression. So once you have understood, your organization will be able to work properly. So you can invest accordingly for the 5-year planning that you have decided, because you have understood how the growth will happen. So training programs are group focused, where more than one individual or particulars participants in an organization or a group event, such as a workshop, classroom, or a seminar. Generally what happens is, in training, for example, communication training, body language. So for a hospitality organization, for a hospitality person, for like airlines, for a bank for that matter, when you have a customer-centric job, you have to understand that some grooming is important. How, what, where, those kind can be given. Like you may be very good with your computer knowledge, you might be very good with your paperwork, you understand how it has to be done, but somehow you falter when you are talking to that particular guest, to a particular guest. You maybe you do not make that particular guest understand what you want to. So that short duration training can be conducted for you. Okay, fine. So you are good with everything. This is how you start with your conversations. So there are all kind of people. Some people are very good with making friends. Some people are not very good with making friends. Some people can make you believe, like sometimes we go to a mall or something and we tend to buy a lot of things because that the shopkeeper is not there. The salesperson is so convincing that, ma'am, please buy this, this is so and so good, this is so good, this is so good. So what happens is, impulsively you buy that. So what I'm talking about is the process that person takes to make you convinced to buy a particular thing. So that is also to be learned. Everybody, we cannot sell something like that so easily, and every mall doesn't have that kind of a people also. So if you are very friendly and if you are not very friendly, both have reasons, So some organizations, like in clothing sector, suppose you are going to a clothing mall where you're buying for clothes, so you have a different kind of a salesperson there. If you're going to a grocery shopping, you have a different kind of a salesperson there. So it depends on your role, what kind of a role you are going to play. So if you are supposed to handle guests, if you're supposed to scan the barcodes, you have to learn that, how it has to be done. Suppose you're making your bills, suppose you're sitting on a billing counter, then that training can be given for 1 or 2 days to you. So that is training, and that is very fixed, short term. And development activities tend to be more of a personalized experience, which is catered based on the individual's development plan. As a floor supervisor or as a manager, how you have to develop yourself. That is like in 2 years you have become a floor supervisor. In 5 years you are going to become the manager. So what requirement are there for you to understand? Because as a manager you have to understand how the salesperson is working, how the store is being maintained, how the staff there are working, now suppose there is an issue with your computer, you as a manager you have to understand that you have to repair it, you have to immediately help it, like SOS, you have to understand how it is going to work. So that kind of a development. So training is like if you are on a job and you are sitting and suddenly the computer fails, you cannot do anything. So that you have not learned because you don't know the hardware, you do not know the software of computers. So then a technical person will come and that person is going to help repair your system. So if you are a technical person, if you are working for a company which is taking care of your computers, like there are so many BPOs which has come in where you have technical support coming in, there is you have suppose you buy an HP laptop or you have a Lenovo, they have their own customer care option. So you call up that person. It's not necessary that they are sitting in the same city. Maybe they are sitting in a different country altogether. They will help you restart your computer. They will help you with whatever problems or issues you are having in your computer. So what I'm trying to tell you is, it's not necessary that you have to learn or you have to be trained in everything that you are working, right? So if there is something, some kind of a problem which comes in, then the manager comes in. The manager has to be aware of it. You may not have the number for your HP software help, but the manager must be having that kind of thing. That is like a long term. So a manager becomes a good manager because he has understood the training also, he has understood the technical part also, and he has also understood the psychological part also. How to handle guests, how to stop panic, when there is some kind of a thing, maybe a light has gone wrong or a lift has been jammed, something like that. So situation handling, that is the what word you have to understand is how you are handling a particular situation. That is important. When that is there, then you have a individual development plan. So the organization takes the responsibility of training. It happens because what happens is organization to organization it varies. Some files are moving from table 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's easy in your organization. Suddenly you shift to another organization, the files are moving in a different direction, or different people are there. Then you have to learn it again. So generally that is called as orientation in organizations. So for a 5-day orientation or a 6-day orientation, you're aware of how things are to be done, whom to approach for what kind of a thing. That is also a part of training. Orientation is also a part of your training. How to be acquainted with whatever task or the table which has been assigned to you. How to go about, which person to contact at what point, or where to get your help from, where to get your uniform from. So those kind of things are also part of your orientation. So orientation is also a kind of training. So it can also include your paperwork, what kind of formats you have to fill, what kind of work culture that organization has, whether there is an EOD option, whether you are working 24 hours, whether you're working online, whether you're working on a particular job at a particular time and then you're shifting completely to a different job on a different time. So these things happen in your training. Then the development is a self-assessment procedure where individuals are held responsible for creating and developing their own self, So yes, there is, because you are the managers, you are supposed to be the organization heads. If you have your own understanding of what is required, then you can self-assess yourself. Then when you're self-assessing yourself, you know that this is something which I am lacking. For giving you an example here, I would like to speak about Ratan Tata. He's the head of the Tata Group. I saw one video, where he mentioned that he learned this in the steel plants. I think Mr. J.R.D. Tata had asked him to work in the steel plant. So he he speaks later on that at that particular time I did not like that particular work function there, how the steel is going, melting and making things. But later on it helped in him in understanding how it has to be done efficiently. So everything that you are learning by hand, that is your skills, that is going to be helping you in your development, that is going to help you in progressing, that is going to help you in your understanding of your juniors, that is going to help you in developing yourself also. You are shifting from one organization to another. Generally people are shifting in the same kind of a organization, same kind of a profile in a senior positions. So people generally, very rare it happens that they are working in a steel plant and then they suddenly shift to hospitality sector. It doesn't happen generally. But for Ratan Tata, it did happen like that. So what has to be understood is that he really worked hard, he really worked hard in those days when he was working in that particular factory. So training with hand is very, very important, and then that making you into a good developed person. So why training is necessary? For improving the quality, the standard, and the work of the employees. So there are some other reasons also which give rise to the need of training. Employment of inexperienced and new labor requires detailed instructions for new skills and for giving an effective on-the-job training. This is how it has to be done. The water has to be kept like this. The water has to be boiled like this. The utensils have to be cleaned like this. If it is in a hospitality, you're in a front office, how the guest has to be taken, the check-in has to be taken in, how the card has to be swiped, how the room key has to be made. So it is everything is done through the opera system or the softwares which are there. So how you do it, that is what is important. Then people should not only do work, but work effectively and the minimum supervision, cost, waste and spoilage, and yet produce the quality and services. That is very, very done. Like for an organization to survive well, like minimum wastage, yes, effective working, yes, and cost effective. Whatever the salary is being given to you, you're working for it. You are not sitting and idling time. So that is spoilage. Wasting and spoilage is avoided. Third is old employees need refresher training to enable. Like I mentioned, suppose you worked for some kind of a government organization and suddenly you have been told that this is a new thing which has come in. You have to incorporate it in your procedure. Then you have to learn about it. You cannot just say, okay, fine, I'm leaving the job. I don't want to understand. I don't want to learn. Yeah, that is one of the options. But if you want to continue with that kind of a job, with that kind of an organization, then as an old employee, you have to learn the new things which has come in. So that is a refresher training, right? So whatever the tools that has come in. Then the fourth is the training is required when a person must move from one job to another because of the transfer, promotion or the demotion. Yes. Suppose that you're working in a small property or a small organization and suddenly you're going to an MNC, the work culture will be completely different. So you have to learn it. And suppose you've got a promotion, so you were working for maybe a different kind of a process and then suddenly you are shifted to a different kind of a process. The organization is different. So you have to learn it, how this new process is going to work, how the people here are there. You have to learn all those things, right? You have to go through a training to understand what the new work culture is. And sometimes it happens for demotion, Like you were not able to, suppose you have been given a promotion, you're sitting as a manager and you are not able to delegate, you're not able to work, you're not able to finish the task at hand, then the organization may give you a demotion, they might demote you, they may send back you to a supervisory level. So then you have to learn how to become a better manager, how to understand that kind of a position, job, what is the job requirement, what is the job role for that kind of a thing. So that once I learn all these things, once I have a training for it, now in the organization sectors, there are so many certifications, Six Sigma is there, and then there are the various other options where people are learning and they are developing themselves, Six Sigma, Five Sigma, Three Sigma, they are there because they are part of how efficient you are, how efficiently you work. So that certification is a kind of training. So you either you do it inside your organization, or you take a certification, or you take a course from your online options, or you go for a 6-day or a 5-day program, but that is again paid. But when you are doing a training inside your organization, that is generally not paid, right? So that is very, very important when you have to do your training and how you have to do your training. So it can be a part of just learning, or it can be a part of your understanding, and that's how development, So what are basic needs, importance and the needs of training, right? This is something which we are going to understand, in our next topic. So that is aids in the new constraints attaining role clarity. Entrance जो भी whoever is coming in your organization as a new person, that person has to have a role clarity. What is his role or her role? Whether he or she is going to do so and so, whatever is the requirement, or expected something else also. Then for promotions, required or not. Then prevent the skill obsolescence. Like I mentioned, something which was there working in your organization, and suddenly there is a new software which is planning to come, where they're going to install it in your systems, you have to go through it. So how simple example can be an Outlook also. Microsoft Outlook is a version where organizations within organizations, they are communicating. They are not going for Gmail, they are not going for other things, they are talking about Microsoft Outlook. So as a person who is working without Microsoft Outlook has to learn that. So that is learning something new. Then improves the quality and the productivity. Yes, 100%, because whenever you are learning, you are improving, right? It is understood that you are improving with your learning. So like the same way, like we studied in school, we studied with ABCD, and then we started with birds, cat, bat, rat, and then we went to college, 11th, 12th, then graduation. So what we have done, we have improved ourselves, we have improved our learning. So that was basically your educational qualification. But once you are there on a job, you need to understand the skill part of it, right? The technical part of it, the mechanical part of it. That is what is important. So it improves the quality and the productivity. Then meet the organizational objectives. So I have joined this organization, number one, for salary. Yes, everybody will say that. But why that organization has hired me? Because they have some organizational goals to meet. So that kind of a goal I am helping in making them meet. So that is what, because I am supposed to work for that particular organization, for that particular company, for that particular organization to develop themselves, right? Suppose it's a college, it's a university. Then I'm supposed to teach. I'm supposed to give lectures. I'm supposed to take demonstrations. I'm supposed to take classes for the students. Suppose I say no, I don't want to take classes. Then that organizational objective has lost, because I have been hired for that particular objective, right? Improves organizational climate. Whatever I have been hired for, I am doing it. That is very important. So if I am doing my job properly, if A, B, C, D are doing their job properly, then that means the organization is working properly. The climate is good. What is the climate? That means the environment inside the organization. People are working, people are happy, they are getting their salaries, they are working confidently, they do not have any difficulties with their bosses, the bosses are able to understand them. That is kind of an organizational climate, because the bosses have understood psychologically or philosophically through development, and the junior staff has understood through the technical skills. It also helps in preventing accidents. That yes, this work I have understood, like maybe driving a car, that is a training, right? You get an L license, learner license, then you get a final license. Why? Because you have learnt it. So now the training is complete. 5 days, 7 days, 15 days, whatever the training period of your learning the car, you have done it. So now it prevents accidents. So if you're not having a license, if you're not having a technical training of how to drive a car, then you might get into an accident. So that kind of a thing happens in organization also. You have to understand properly the work culture of that particular organization to avoid these kind of accidents. To support personal growth and development, yes, 200%. This is the most important part of it. Like if you're working for an organization, the training is for yourself. And development is also for yourself. The organization thinks that you are working, you are learning for the organization. You are developing for the organization. Yes, because the bigger picture is that you are learning for the organization, because whatever you have learned, you are going to deliver it in that particular organization. If you have understood it in a better way, you will be able to deliver it in a better way. So as a person, your training, your skills, your understanding, your knowledge, everything will work out if you are doing properly in your organization for your personal growth also, right? So if you have understood how to a salesperson, if you are been able to handle your sales properly, sales target, whatever they give you, yes, so many number of hours of sales service that you have given, They give you a promotion, they give you incentives, because they have understood, yes, this person is very nice in selling, he or she makes a sale in 1 hour, the total what other person is doing it in 6 hours. So what happens is your personal growth has happened, your personal development has happened. So students, we're going to close this session of training and development today. We are going to start we have a next session which where we will be understanding what is the training need and why the training need analysis has to be done to continue with the topic further. Thank you.